Exposed: how the millionaire's daughters took a heartwarming stand after their nanny was unexpectedly stricken with a medical emergency. Emma Johnson thought her life was perfect. The sun glinted off the pristine surface of the pool in their lavish backyard, the sound of laughter filling the air as her younger sister Lily splashed about. But everything changed in an instant, ripped apart by the piercing scream from their beloved nanny, Rosa. That fateful day in February, as fresh snow painted the Atlanta suburbs, Rosa collapsed in front of the girls, clutching her chest. Emma's heart raced, and Lily's wide eyes filled with panic. Their world, usually so safe and cushioned, suddenly felt like it was on fire. In the days that followed, Rosa was hospitalized, and the girls' house transformed into a hollow shell. Their vibrant home echoed with silence, while their parents, immersed in their careers, remained oblivious to the chaos swirling around them. The Johnson family, boasting wealth and stability, felt more like plastic mannequins in the absence of warmth and human connection. Emma and Lily, both just teenagers, struggled under the weight of a reality crashing in on them, a burden neither had been prepared for. As they sat together on their ornate couch, scrolling through medical bills, Emma felt a pit forming in her stomach. Out of their reach were the costs of Rosa's treatment, the numbers climbing higher with each phone call. "This isn't right," Emma murmured, stifling tears. Even their deluxe lifestyle feigned warmth when compared to the struggles Rosa faced. They resolved to do something, anything. Bake sales, talent shows, whatever it took to rally their neighbors' kindness for the woman who had poured herself into their lives. "Can you believe people are just sitting on their couches while Rosa's in a hospital?" Lily said, clutching a clipboard filled with ideas, frustration tinging her voice. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days turned into weeks, the sisters welcomed every neighbor to their bake sales, but their efforts only met with indifference. Heated arguments erupted between Emma and her parents. "Why can't you see this is bigger than money?" Emma shouted, desperation flooding her voice. "Rosa deserves our help." She slammed the family's privilege against the wall of societal injustice, and her parents, trapped in their luxury, struggled to understand. The town hall meeting felt like a boiling pot of emotions. As Emma stood before the crowd, the air thick with tension, her heart raced. Suddenly she found her voice amidst fear and discomfort. She spoke of Rosa, revealing the unseen struggles of hard work, love, and sacrifice. Her words rang with truth, a clarion call that shattered the complacency in the room. "We're living in a bubble," she cried, "while someone we love is suffering." The room held its breath. Faces turned to her in silent contemplation. Would her words touch the hearts of those wrapped in privilege? Would her family finally see the divide between them and the woman who had loved them? As whispers began to snake through the audience, Emma stood grounded in her truth, wondering if one brave voice could truly forge a new understanding, or if it was the beginning of a deeper chasm. Emma stood on that stage, her heart thumping like a drum in her chest. The whispers swelled into murmurs, and she could see the flicker of curiosity in the eyes of some attendees. She scanned the room, searching for a sign, a glimmer of hope that her words had reached at least one soul. But she felt exposed like a bird without shelter, standing alone against a tide of stillness. With each passing moment, doubt crept in. What if they didn't care? What if it was all for nothing? Just as she prepared to step down, a voice called out from the back of the room. "Emma, what can we do to help?" An older woman stood, a soft grey streak in her hair, a neighbor she didn't know well but had seen at the grocery store. Shocked, Emma locked eyes with her, a wave of relief washing over her. In that moment, the floodgates opened. People rose slowly at first, then with growing confidence. "We can host a fundraiser," one man suggested. "Bake sales aren't enough. Let's organize a charity run," another chimed in. Emma felt her chest swell with an unexpected warmth. It was like the sun breaking through clouds. Within minutes, ideas buzzed through the air like fireflies, illuminating the gathering. No longer was her voice alone. It resonated now with many. As each plan unfolded, a spark ignited in the hearts of those who had been comfortably numb for too long. Emma felt buoyed, a sense of purpose wrapping around her. After the meeting, she could hear Lily's laughter. Her sister had taken to chatting with an enthusiastic group, both thrilled to be part of something bigger. Days turned into a whirlwind of activity. Flyers were plastered on every telephone pole and storefront, announcing the upcoming charity run. The neighborhood buzzed with energy. Emma watched in awe as neighbors who used to share polite smiles began pouring their efforts, donating time and resources. They gathered at the park, transforming it into a vibrant space of support, laughter, and camaraderie. In the heart of it all was Rosa, an undeniable centerpiece of love and unity. Yet even amidst the excitement, the gnawing worry for Rosa lingered like a silent shadow. Each time Emma updated her about the funds being raised, she caught Rosa's faint smile, but recognized the reflection of fear and uncertainty in her eyes. "I hope this helps," Emma would whisper, her own voice trembling with concern. One day, as they sat by Rosa's bedside, Emma found herself hesitating before speaking out about the fundraiser. Suddenly, Rosa turned toward her, her eyes shining with something Emma hadn't seen in weeks, gratitude, but tinged with sadness. "You're doing so much, but I wish—" Rosa paused, emotion caught in her throat. "I wish we weren't here. I miss the life we had." Those words cut deep, piercing through Emma's resolve. All the hard work felt so little compared to the weight of what had been lost. As she left the hospital room, the glow of lights lining the streets felt dimmer now, and doubt seeped back in. What if all this effort was only a bandage on a wound that ran deep? Back at home, while Emma sat at her desk, her phone buzzed with a message, an anonymous donation. "We believe in Rosa, and in you." It was enough to bring tears to her eyes, a reminder that the fight was worth it, that every voice mattered. But beneath the encouragement lay a need for something more. But how would they truly bridge the seemingly insurmountable divide? The alarming truth was dawning. This was just the beginning. The journey ahead felt rocky, uncertain, yet Emma knew they had ignited a spark that couldn't be extinguished. As Emma stargazed from her bedroom window, she marveled at how things had changed. Every step forward seemed to reveal another obstacle, another layer. With each breath, she pondered the challenge ahead. Would they be able to unite their communities when it mattered most? As the realization settled in, a new question bubbled within her. What if they could do more than raise money? What if they could truly change lives? Emma clenched her fists, determination surging through her. The story wasn't over yet. The fight was far from finished. The morning of the charity run dawned bright and clear, but Emma felt a heaviness settling in her chest. The park, usually alive with laughter and children playing, was now transformed into a sea of folded tables and bright banners. Everywhere she looked, people donned t-shirts that read "Together for Rosa." The energy was palpable, a fluttering mix of hope and anxiety. Emma stood at a booth, her hands trembling as she adjusted the donations jar, making sure it was prominently displayed. Uncertainty tinged the atmosphere, and she could feel the undercurrent of her own fears. What if no one showed up? What if the support they garnered wasn't enough? She breathed deeply and reminded herself they had already achieved so much just by uniting their community, no matter the outcome of the run. Lily ran past, her ponytail swinging, carrying a handful of flyers to hand out. "I think everyone's coming," she shouted, her voice full of excitement. The sight of her sister, bubbling with enthusiasm, pulled a small smile from Emma. She couldn't help but admire the spark of resilience in Lily that seemed to illuminate everyone around her. As the time for the event drew near, Emma spotted familiar faces in the crowd. Neighbors, friends, even some from the grocery store who had only ever exchanged small talk. They all wore expressions of determination and hope, a tapestry woven tightly together in support of Rosa. And yet in that moment, the weight of her promise to Rosa pressed heavily on Emma's shoulders, a promise to do more than just raise money. The run began with heartbeats thundering in sync with the countdown. Emma felt every pulse, every unspoken concern that hung in the air around her, a collective heartbeat of a community coming together for a cause. And as the first wave of runners surged forward, she couldn't help but join in, her feet propelling her forward as if in a race of her own. She ran alongside others, their laughter mingling with shouts of encouragement, each step a testament to their resolve. Yet, as the miles went by, the reality of Rosa's situation simmered in the background, reminding Emma that their unity needed to mean more. She felt fluctuating emotions course through her, from thrill to trepidation. Would this truly change anything? Was her effort going to penetrate the walls of despair that Rosa faced daily? A sudden thought caught her off guard. What if they could turn this event into something bigger, something lasting? She pictured a support network forming, not just for Rosa, but for families enduring similar struggles. Her heart raced at the idea, so enticing it felt almost tangible. As she crossed the finish line, the rush from the run was suddenly overtaken by an even greater rush of adrenaline. Emma looked around at the joyous faces, a crowd now filled with pride, and whispered to herself, "We need to keep this going." Again, she felt that spark ignite within her. They were proving they could do more than just raise money. They could create change, forge a community, and breathe life into hope. The celebrations wore on, but excitement gave way to contemplation. How could they expand this movement? Who could help them? And what if this was only the beginning of a greater mission? Emma felt a surge of energy course through her, the uncertainty of the future colliding against the promise of transformation. Just then, a new figure approached. An older gentleman, someone she recognized from the neighborhood meetings, a look of determination etched on his face. "Emma," he said, breathless from the run but energized, "I think we need to talk about what happens next." With her heart racing anew, Emma realized that they might be on the brink of something monumental. Would this community truly rise together? Would they transform their fears into united strength? As her eyes met the man's, Emma knew one thing for certain: the journey was only just beginning. The gentleman, Mr. Hamilton, stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and urgency. "You have no idea how many people believe in this cause," he said, his voice steady. "We can't just stop here. We've created a movement today, but it's just the tip of the iceberg." Emma's heart swelled at his words. "What do you mean?" she asked, hopeful yet cautious. Mr. Hamilton gestured to the crowd. "Look around, these are dedicated people, families who want to do more not just for Rosa, but for anyone facing challenges similar to hers. We could form a committee. A coalition would be incredibly powerful." The notion hung in the air, electric with possibility. Emma's mind raced. She envisioned organizing regular events, workshops, support groups, an entire network of love, connecting families in their shared struggles. "What if we partner with local businesses?" she suggested, the excitement bubbling within her. "They could sponsor more events, maybe even contribute resources for workshops." He nodded, his face beaming with inspiration. "Exactly. And what about schools? The education system could play a pivotal role in raising awareness. Kids could learn empathy, support, understanding." As their ideas intertwined, a surge of determination surged through Emma. She felt the weight on her shoulders lighten. No longer was this just about a single charity run. They had the power to launch a movement. They could build a foundation that touched the lives of many. Lily ran back, her cheeks flushed from exertion. "What's going on? You look like you just won the lottery." Emma grinned. "Even better. We're planning a coalition to keep the momentum going, to really support families in need. You in?" "Of course," Lily exclaimed. "I'll help with whatever you need." The trio bounced ideas back and forth, the vibrant energy of the day creating a fitting backdrop as more people gathered around, catching snippets of their conversation. "Are you starting a project?" asked a woman from the crowd. Emma recognized her from the neighborhood potlucks, someone who had often offered her kind words of encouragement. "Absolutely. Join us. We want to keep this movement alive for Rosa and people like her," Emma replied, her heart racing. The woman nodded, excitement shining in her eyes. "Count me in. My brother has been through something similar. I'd love to get involved." As more neighbors, colleagues, and friends approached, offering their support and ideas, Emma could hardly contain her joy. With every new connection, each hopeful face, the vision of their collective impact solidified. But as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, a shadow flickered through her mind. What about Rosa? Would this be enough for her? What if they couldn't make it happen? What if their efforts fell flat? Emma's heart fluttered with anxiety, but she quickly pushed those thoughts aside. Today was a victory, a spark that could ignite change. She just needed to keep the flame alive. As Emma wrapped up conversations and exchanged contact numbers, she felt pinned between excitement and vulnerability. Would everyone truly rally together once the novelty wore off? Emma, Mr. Hamilton's voice broke into her thoughts. Let's not let this energy fade. Let's meet again soon to solidify our plans. I know people who can help engage the community wider. Are you on board? Yes, definitely, Emma replied, determination strengthening her voice. As the crowd continued to disperse, smiles and laughter echoing around her, Emma felt a mixture of elation and trepidation. She took a deep breath, aligning her mind with the promise of change. But then she spotted the familiar silhouette in the distance, Rosa's family, hesitant against the warm evening sun. They lingered on the outskirts, watching everyone celebrate. Emma's heart dropped. She hadn't spoken to them since the run. What would they think about her ideas? A wave of fear washed over her. Would Rosa even want to be part of this? Just as those thoughts threatened to choke her enthusiasm, she recalled the collective heartbeat of the day, the promise of hope brought forth by unity. Emma squared her shoulders, determination blooming anew. She had to reach out. It was time to bridge the gap. Would Rosa and her family trust her intentions? Would they be willing to join this journey? With every step she took toward them, her heart pounded fast. If this was to be truly transformative, it had to include them. "Hey, Rosa," Emma called out, her voice eager but laced with nervousness. "Can we talk?" The night held its breath, a moment suspended in time as she awaited their reply. Rosa looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes as she caught sight of Emma approaching. Her family shifted slightly, a mix of curiosity and caution etched on their faces. The warmth of the evening sun faded, but Emma felt a fire burning in her chest, a mix of hope and dread. "Sure," Rosa finally said, her voice soft but steady. She glanced at her parents, who exchanged uncertain glances before nodding slightly, giving her the go-ahead. "Can we walk?" Emma suggested, wanting to break the tension filling the air. They moved a few steps away from the thrumming crowd into a quieter corner of the park, where the laughter faded into whispers. "I just wanted to say, today was powerful," Emma began, her voice earnest. "I know things have been tough, and I've been talking with Mr. Hamilton and others about starting a coalition for families like yours, like Rosa's. We want to create real change and support." Rosa's brow furrowed, skepticism creeping onto her thoughtful face. "But what does that mean for us? What if it doesn't change anything?" Emma felt her heart sink. "This is the moment I've been afraid of," she thought. "I believe it will. We want to bring people together, share resources, awareness, and hope. But honestly, it has to include you. Without your voice, we can't succeed." Rosa paused, gazing out at the dwindling sunlight. "It's been so hard. Sometimes I feel like no one truly understands what we're going through." "I can't pretend to know everything," Emma admitted, "but I want to listen. We all do. Today showed us that when we join together, we can spark change. We can make it better for everyone." Emma watched as Rosa wrestled with her emotions. The quiet stretched long between them, heavy but hopeful, a fragile moment that felt almost electric. Finally, Rosa spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to believe in that. I just don't know if we can trust it." "Trust takes time, I get that," Emma replied, feeling her own heart race with vulnerability. "But you're not alone anymore. You've already inspired so many people just being you. We want you in this, your story, your strength. It matters." Rosa's eyes sparkled with unshed tears. "You really think we can do this?" "Yes, we have to try," Emma said, reaching out to take Rosa's hand. It felt warm and grounded. "Together we can lift each other up. Today was just the start. I want you to be a part of it." Before Rosa could respond, her mother stepped forward, her face resolute yet softened by worry. Rosa, it's important. We have to think about what this means for our family. Will it help? Will it truly make a difference? Mom, Rosa said, squeezing Emma's hand, I think it might. Emma glanced between them, sensing the delicate balance of hope and fear that hung in the air. If you're willing, we can have a meeting to explain more. What it will look like, how we can create impact. Your voice is the key. Something flickered in Rosa's eyes, a spark igniting as she nodded slowly, her body language changing ever so slightly. I'll talk to my family. We can come to this meeting. Relief washed over Emma, almost tangible in the cool evening air. Thank you, Rosa. I promise we'll make this worthwhile. It'll be a space for everyone to share and grow. As the two girls stood, hands clasped, a gentle breeze swept through the park, wrapping around them like a quiet promise. It stirred something inside Emma, a sense that maybe, just maybe, they could build something real together. But the world around them was still moving. Suddenly, one of Rosa's younger siblings tumbled into view, laughter spilling from their lips. It was a reminder that life continued with unbroken rhythms, and they both knew the clock was ticking. Can you just give it a chance? Rosa said, her voice now steady. For my sister's sake. Absolutely, Emma replied, her heart alight with purpose. Let's make it happen. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, a thought tugged at Emma. Would Rosa's family truly embrace this new journey? And if their voices were heard, what change would ripple out into the world? Just then, Mr. Hamilton called from the crowd, waving them over. Looks like we're ready to regroup. Grab everyone, we've got exciting plans to share. Emma felt a surge of anticipation as she looked at Rosa. Are you ready? With a mix of hope and trepidation, Rosa nodded. Let's see where this goes. As they walked back toward the thrumming group, Emma knew this was just the beginning, but doubt lingered at the edges of her thoughts. Would the unity they were striving to build withstand the challenges ahead? Could they stay true to their vision when shadows of doubt crept in? Somewhere deep inside, a restless question remained. What would they have to face to truly transform their community? And would they be ready when the moment of truth arrived? As they approached the center of the gathering, Emma felt the swirling energy of the crowd. Voices blended into a tapestry of excitement and anxiety. Mr. Hamilton stood at the front, a map in hand, outlining plans that felt both ambitious and essential. Emma's stomach churned with both nerves and anticipation. Rosa flickered her gaze towards the cluster of their peers, a group that had witnessed countless struggles and triumphs. They were all here, yet the weight of each individual's unspoken worries hung in the air. Emma squeezed Rosa's hand gently, grounding her in the moment. Gather around, everyone, Mr. Hamilton called. The crowd began to assemble, curious faces shifting towards the front. Today was monumental, and it's just the beginning. We need to channel this energy into something powerful. Emma listened intently, her heart racing. The ideas he shared were raw and real, but she was acutely aware of the underlying tension lurking in the back of her mind. What if they fell short? What if everything they were building came crashing down? Rosa's mother stepped closer to the front, appearing protective yet intrigued. Emma noticed as Rosa caught her mother's eye. A silent conversation passed between them, a mix of encouragement and motherly concern. Emma hoped it was enough. Today, we saw what happens when we gather together, Mr. Hamilton continued. We're building a coalition for families, for anyone affected by the injustices in our community. It's time we stood together and demanded change. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Emma wondered if everyone was as confident as Mr. Hamilton. She could feel Rosa's grip tightening around her fingers. What if they don't believe in us like you do? Rosa whispered, doubt creeping into her voice. Emma leaned in closer. They will. They have to. We just need to show them it's possible. Their eyes locked, and for a moment the world around them faded. Let's have everyone share their stories, he spoke, breaking the spell that had enveloped them. Your voices matter, your strengths matter. As people began to step forward, Emma felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She watched neighborhood families, single mothers, and even children bravely sharing their truths. Each story painted a picture of struggles, but also of resilience, courage, and hope. Amid the crowd, Emma spotted Rosa's younger sibling, eyes wide with wonder. The child seemed to absorb the energy, sucking it in like a sponge. Emma smiled, seeing the spark of possibility lighting up the future generation. She turned back to Rosa, feeling a surge of inspiration coursing through her veins. "Let's do our part too," Emma encouraged softly. "We can share how this impacted you and your family." But when it was Rosa's turn to speak, her breath hitched in her throat. She hesitated at the open mic, her eyes darting nervously over the crowd. Emma could see the internal battle raging within her, fear and hope colliding like waves crashing against the shore. "Just breathe," Emma whispered, sending her an encouraging smile. I'll try," Rosa finally said, stepping toward the mic. The crowd fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. As Rosa began to speak, her voice trembled at first, but the passion soon poured forth. She spoke of the injustices her family faced, the hardships, and the strength she discovered within those struggles. Emma watched, heart swelling, as Rosa's words ignited something deep within the crowd. Gasps of empathy rippled through those listening, and Emma could sense the shift, people leaning in, connecting not just with Rosa's story, but with each other. When her speech concluded, there was a moment of silence followed by a thunderous applause that echoed off the park's trees. Emma rushed to Rosa, pulling her into a tight hug, pride swelling inside her. "See? You did it! You were amazing!" Emma exclaimed, her voice bursting with joy. But a shadow crossed Rosa's face, a flicker of uncertainty lingering. What if this was just a moment? How do we keep the momentum going? Emma looked around at the crowd, feeling renewed determination. "We'll make it happen. We just need to stick together." As the crowd buzzed with excitement and purpose, Rosa began to smile, a hesitant but bright light breaking through. Yet deep down, Emma felt the weight of uncharted territories they hadn't yet faced. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, and that every triumph could come with unexpected challenges. With uncertainty looming, Emma couldn't shake the question, could they truly sustain this unity? And when the pressure mounted, would their voices still ring out strong enough to make a difference? As the applause faded, the crowd began to shift and buzz with excitement. People clustered in small groups, their voices a melody of shared hope and renewed purpose. Emma could feel the adrenaline coursing through her, merging with Rosa's palpable energy. It was a moment of connection, a moment where they all believed they could be catalysts for change. "Let's brainstorm ideas," Emma suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. She glanced at Rosa, who seemed to glow with a new light, the earlier uncertainties slowly melting away. "What can we do next?" Rosa bit her lip, her brow furrowed in thought. "Maybe we can organize workshops, help families learn about their rights and how to stand up for themselves?" "Exactly." Emma's heart raced at the potential. "We could even start a weekly meeting, invite people to share their stories and support each other." The passion in Rosa's eyes ignited Emma's own resolve. "Let's call it Voices United. It can be a space where everyone feels safe to talk and share ideas. We could have a different theme every week, focus on the issues that matter to us." Rosa nodded slowly, her excitement building. "And we could create flyers to spread the word, maybe get those local businesses involved. They could help sponsor us." Just then, Mr. Hamilton approached them, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "You both are onto something remarkable," he said, a proud smile on his face. "The community needs a place like that. I can help spread the word. Together, we can make Voices United a real thing. Let's get everyone on board." With the encouragement of Mr. Hamilton, the ideas began to flow like water. One by one, people joined the conversation. Names were scribbled on paper, plans were formed, and within moments, a new sense of unity washed over the gathering. Laughter and excitement danced through the air, reality colliding with dreams. But the thrill was soon cast with a shadow when Emma's gaze drifted to the side. A group of older men was whispering, their expressions tight with unease. She couldn't quite catch their words, but the tension in the air thickened, the kind that made her stomach drop. "What do you think they're talking about?" she asked Rosa quietly, nudging her head toward the men. Rosa squinted, concern etching her features. Maybe they don't agree with what we're trying to do. Before Emma could respond, Mr. Hamilton continued, louder now. Let's make sure every voice is heard. We can't let fear or doubt drown out the passion we've built today. Or the fear of losing what little we have, one of the older men interjected, taking a step forward. The murmurs grew and Emma felt the weight return, squeezing her heart. What if we break apart instead of bringing everyone together? What if some don't want this change? His voice was shaky but clear, echoing the doubt that hung like a cloud. Silence enveloped the crowd, curiosity and concern flickering across faces. Emma's pulse quickened. We have to address it, she whispered to Rosa, determination settling in. They need to see that their voices matter too. Rosa nodded. Let's invite them to share their thoughts. It could strengthen us. Stepping forward, Emma felt the collective gaze settle on her, a sea of eyes searching for direction. Can we have a conversation about our fears? She called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Everyone's opinion matters, and we need to hear from everyone if we're going to move forward together. As murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, Emma took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Could they truly hold on to this fragile unity, or would their fears drive them apart? With every voice demanding to be heard, she braced for what could come next, hoping they could weather the storm together. The real work was just beginning, and it wouldn't just take courage, it would take all of them. As she looked out into the sea of faces, Emma couldn't help but wonder, would the strength they had found today be enough to face the challenges lurking just beneath the surface? The crowd shifted uneasily, the air thick with anticipation. Emma felt her heart race, the stakes growing higher. She squinted to catch a glimpse of the older men, whose expressions flickered between skepticism and something deeper, a sense of protection perhaps. The community was their life, their legacy. Let's start with you, Emma said, her voice steady, pointing gently toward the man who had spoken out. What's on your mind? He hesitated, eyes darting between Emma and the group. For years we've tried to keep our heads down, survive. Change is scary. We don't want to rock the boat and lose the little stability we have. Emma nodded, absorbing his words. She understood that fear. But what if we stand together? What if we can find strength in one another? A murmur of interest swept across the crowd. People leaned in, drawn by the prospect of connection, of hope. Please, share your thoughts. It's important for us to hear you, Rosa urged, stepping beside Emma, her voice warm and inviting. Another man stepped forward, his brow furrowed deeply. I'm worried about our families. We've faced enough setbacks, and setbacks take a toll. What if this Voices United ends up dividing us instead of bringing us together? Emma felt her stomach twist. She wanted to reassure him, to give him hope, but she knew it wouldn't come with easy words alone. I can't promise that there won't be disagreements, but I can promise that we'll listen. We'll find a way to address our fears together. The older men whispered amongst themselves, their conversation urgent yet low. Emma turned to Rosa, silently pleading for guidance. Rosa's eyes flickered with fierce determination, and she took a breath, stepping in front of Emma. I understand where you're coming from, Rosa began, her tone calm yet passionate. Every voice here holds weight. If we join together, we can learn to advocate for ourselves. This isn't just about the change we want. It's about ensuring every family feels secure. It's about building a community where we can thrive. The older men exchanged glances, uncertainty still etched on their faces. But there was something else there too, a glimmer of hope perhaps. Sometimes, Rosa continued, the lesson isn't just about fighting the battles right in front of us. It's about uniting for those who come after us. We owe it to our kids, our grandkids. This struck a chord, and a few heads nodded in agreement. Emma felt the tide beginning to shift. Let's share our stories, one of the men finally spoke, his voice stronger now. Let's hear about the struggles, the victories, even the mistakes. It builds trust. Ah yes, Emma exclaimed, clenching her fist slightly in excitement. These stories matter. They're pieces of our collective strength. When we share, we're not just heard, we become a force. As she scanned the crowd, she saw a mix of hesitance and newfound curiosity. They wanted to trust, perhaps even connect. "Let's schedule a meeting," Rosa suggested. "Maybe next week. Everyone can bring a story or an experience. We can turn this anxiety into understanding." Heads nodded, and for the first time the air felt lighter, infused with possibility. The meeting could be a catalyst for change, not just in the community, but within each family represented. However, just as a flicker of optimism began to stabilize the conversation, an unexpected voice rang out from the back of the crowd, cutting through the budding camaraderie. But what happens when the powerful refuse to listen? The question hung heavy, a stark reminder that real change isn't just about gathering voices. It's about confronting those who may not want to change. Emma felt her chest tighten. This was an unforeseen challenge they would need to face head-on. As her heart raced, she locked eyes with Rosa. They both knew the moment of truth was approaching. If the community was to unite, they'd have to brace themselves for the harsh realities of resistance. Would they be strong enough to stand together against those who might try to silence them? The journey was only just beginning, and the path ahead would be filled with unexpected hurdles. Emma took a breath, readying herself for the challenge, but she couldn't shake the uncertainty. Would they emerge stronger, or would the fear of confrontation send them spiraling apart? Emma felt the air thicken again, a shift in the atmosphere. The crowd, which moments ago buzzed with hope, now simmered with anxiety. Every pair of eyes seemed to search for reassurance, an answer to the haunting question posed by the voice at the back. Rosa nervously tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "We'll face that challenge together," she said, her voice slightly shaky but steadfast. "It's important that we prepare, that we know the risks of standing up." "Yeah, but what if it's dangerous?" The same man who had spoken earlier cleared his throat, his voice edged with fear. "What if we become targets?" Emma's heart sank. The words hung in the air, weighing heavily on everyone's shoulders. She took a step forward and raised her hands in an attempt to calm the simmering nest of emotions. "I won't lie. Change comes with risks. But what's scarier? The risk of standing together or the reality of staying quiet while our community continues to suffer?" There was a pause as the crowd processed her words. She could see the flickering flames of doubt wrestling with the yearning for change in their eyes. But she had to push them further. If we don't stand for ourselves, then who will? We can't afford to let fear chain us down. We owe it to each other and to our future. A breeze rustled the leaves overhead, a gentle reminder of the world beyond their problems. The tension in the crowd began to uncoil slightly. "Maybe we could start small," a woman from the side suggested hesitantly, her voice breaking through the collective worry. "What if we got together regularly, shared and planned? If we can show we're united, it'll be harder for them to ignore us." With her suggestion, the tone shifted. Emma felt a spark ignite anew. "That's it. We can build momentum. If we come together as a community, share our stories, and compile our experiences, we'll have much more power. We can create a voice that can't be dismissed." The idea seemed to resonate, and heads began to nod vigorously, fueled by a mix of hope and determination. They needed strength. They needed a foundation they could lean on when the inevitable pushback came. As whispers of agreement filled the air, Emma's heart swelled. Perhaps they really could stand together, transforming their fear into a shared mission. "What do we call ourselves?" someone called from the back, their excitement contagious. "Voices United," Emma replied, a smile lighting her face. "Voices United," the crowd echoed back, louder this time, swelling with newfound energy. A wave of collective affirmation surged through them, electric and alive. But then, quietly, another figure took a step forward, an older woman visibly shaken. "I wish I had this courage. I lost my son to violence last year. We stood alone, didn't know how to speak up or who would listen." Emma felt a cold rush of regret and pain sweep through her. "We're here for you," she spoke softly, crossing the distance to stand by her. "Every story matters, and together we can change things. You're not alone anymore." The woman's eyes glistened, and she looked around, absorbing the warmth and resolve blooming around her. Yet just as the atmosphere was lifting, a voice cried out from the far corner. "What happens when we finally get their attention? We need to think beyond the stories. We need a plan." Emma knew in that moment they weren't just battling silence. They were preparing for a war. "Okay, let's outline our steps," she agreed, adrenaline surging. "Next meeting, we'll not only tell our stories, but start drafting action plans. Let's be allies, strategists, and above all, let's stay united." The crowd buzzed, but with each heartbeat, Emma felt a growing weight. Would they just be a group of dreamers, or could they evolve into a force powerful enough to confront the ultimate challenge? As she scanned the expectant faces, she felt an unsettling realization creeping in. Their real test had yet to arrive. Would they be able to withstand the trials that awaited them? The stakes were no longer just about voices. They were about lives, legacies, and the future of their community. The weeks that followed were a blur of excitement and tension. Emma could hardly keep pace with the momentum of the Voices United movement. Meetings filled with fervent discussions turned into planning sessions bursting with ideas. The park that once felt cavernous now radiated energy, a tapestry of voices weaving connections across the community. Emma stood at the center of it, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. Each shared story not only galvanized people, but hugged the pain of loss, injustice, and isolation closer, pulling it into the light. Every voice that spoke opened new wounds, and those wounds were necessary. But as Emma facilitated discussions, a nagging worry gnawed at her. What would happen when the protective bubble began to pop? Fear of confrontation lurked like a shadow, threatening their fragile unity. One evening, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, Emma noticed an increased tension in the air at their weekly meeting. "I just want to make sure we're really prepared for what's coming," Rosa said, her voice tinged with concern. "Exactly," another member chimed in. "Sharing stories is one thing, but facing pushback is another." The weight of their reality hung thick in the air. Emma felt her palms sweat, her mind racing to find a solution. It was true. The collective heart they had built would soon be tested. They had to prepare for pushback if they truly wanted to become change makers for the community. "How about we create an action plan?" she suggested, her voice steady. "One that not only outlines our goals, but highlights how we stand ready to face opposition." Heads nodded, unease transforming into determination. They could do this together, but it would take courage, clarity, and commitment. The next few meetings brought new experiences, obstacles, and solutions, fueling Emma's hope with each gathering. They developed a strategic approach to present to the town hall. Discussions had turned to actionable items, legislation they dreamed of influencing. Also, they strategized on managing potential resistance from the community's powerful factions, the types who would defend the status quo. But one night, just as momentum peaked, whispers of doubt snaked through the crowd again. "What if we overreach?" a quiet voice murmured. "What if we lose what little we have?" That night left a distinct chill in Emma's heart. Maybe those fears were justified. Could they slip backwards, unraveling everything they'd painstakingly built? It gnawed at her. Despite the supportive voices gathered around her, Emma couldn't shake the anxiety. Would they rise to the occasion, or would fear drag them back into silence? Then one fateful morning came, a day marked by cold air that seeped through crumpled sheets. Today was the town hall meeting. Each echo of footsteps on the floor seemed to resound her heartbeat, an alarming reminder of the weight of their mission. Emma fidgeted anxiously, unnerving thoughts countering the resolve of her voice in the past week. "Don't worry, we've prepared," Rosa reassured, squeezing Emma's hand in solidarity. But deep within, Emma felt the knot tightening. On the way to the town hall, she scanned familiar faces beside her, neighbors who had become more like family, each ready to fight for a purpose larger than themselves. But she knew the road wouldn't be easy. At the entrance, they were met by resistance. Stalwart members of the community, those who had grown accustomed to privilege, stood defiantly. The tension in the crowd thickened. Emma felt Rosa squeeze her hand tighter. "Nothing worth fighting for comes without struggle," she reminded herself. As they entered the room, the atmosphere felt electric yet heavy with uncertainty. Emma took a deep, steadying breath as her heart raced in rhythm with the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She stood at the front, rallying courage from each voice that believed in change. She could see it on the faces in the crowd, the hope, the fear, and the grid of connected stories that had woven them together. And when it was her turn to speak, she looked around the room. She saw the blend of hearts unified by compassion and a collective desire for change. Today we stand not just for ourselves, but for each and every person whose voice has been silenced. Each word was woven with intention. The crowd hung on her every syllable, the stillness palpable. This movement represents love, solidarity, and resilience. We no longer share whispers in dark corners. We rise together in the light of truth, and we demand to be heard. The room erupted into applause. The tide had turned, and just as Emma felt the warmth of collective affirmation, several voices from their opposition called out, challenging her words. Wouldn't it be safer to keep things as they are? Why fix what isn't broken? A voice bravely echoed. Calmly, Emma stepped forward. Change doesn't always mean destruction, it means evolution. Progress is a dream worth fighting for. The din of voices grew, a war of words, echoing around the room. But in the melee, something magical happened. Voices united behind Emma, Rosa, and the resilient families began to chime in, stories peppering through the air, voices rising in chorus. In that moment, there was no more fear. There was only the power of connection. As the town hall meeting continued, the battle wasn't over. Tension and pushback were palpable, but within that struggle emerged a stronger, resolute chorus, fueled by a shared mission. Emma knew they had begun to breach the walls of change, inching closer to the community they dreamed of together. And in the aftermath, as the crowd dispersed, Emma witnessed the spark of unity take hold among their neighbors. They exchanged contact information, urged one another on without retreating into silence. As the sun dipped low in the sky that evening, Emma stood breathing in the sweet air of possibility, feeling lighter with each passing moment. They had faced fears and risen stronger together. Together we can change lives, she whispered, hope blooming in her chest. But her mind quietly wondered, what new challenges lay ahead? Could they truly sustain this momentum? Only time would tell if they could weather the storms that loomed on the horizon. Together, hand in hand, they had built a fortress of courage, and from the ashes of uncertainty rose the roots of a community, ready to break barriers, ready to overcome, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this emotional ending, and don't wait 1 second longer. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative journey. True fans understand the importance of spreading the inspiration.